Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Got a cool one today. A YouTuber or a YouTube account that I actually haven't featured before, Gun Gamers. Got a ton of information from them in the past and just really like the channel. So they have a longer video. This is like half an hour long, so this could be a bit of a longer one, so buckle up. But it says my most used airsoft gear 2025 and some lessons learned along the way. So I've done kind of not 2025 video, but I've done some gear videos of like what I choose and what I use and why I use it. So I thought it could be kind of cool to see a video of a very experienced player talking about his gear, what he wears and why, and then hopefully giving my opinion on it, if I agree with him, if I disagree, and reasons why. So let's have a look at this. Oh, hold on. Sorry. Getting too excited there. I can't remember this guy's name, but he is the kind of Gun Gamers main guy. They've got a couple of, maybe one other guy, I think, who does videos with them. I might be wrong.
To a new video from Gun Gamers. Today is a little bit of a different style of video. As opposed to reviewing a piece of gear or reviewing a gun or going over a particular game.
Well, number one, his setup's pretty sweet. Look at his like two... He's got his patch wall, he's got his two like cabinets right there, and then like a little workspace. So I think for most airsofters, that would probably be a pretty dream setup.
Theory or something like that. I just want to go over some of the gear I've used the most over the last few years and why it is that I've slowed down on buying new things and some of the lessons that hopefully you can take away to find systems that work for you as opposed to having to constantly experiment.
And pay a lot of money. The amount of stuff I bought and then ended up never using it is pretty horrible to think about. That's not airsoft, that's real. What was it? It's like actual tracer rounds.
Over the last few years, I've done less open plays. I don't go out every weekend like I used to short form games. I prioritize more and more
Milsim.
Longer form, larger events, and I'm spending more time either producing and hosting or working other events. And then when I go to long form games, I'm often in a leadership position or I'm fulfilling a specialty role. Or if I'm going to an open play, I'm just grabbing whatever I think is gonna work. Let's start with the fun thing. Let's start with the guns. My most used guns over the last 2 years are basically what you see on this table. I've got my LCTRPD, I've got my GMP Mark 46, I've got my SIG MCX LVA, I've got my Elite Force SOP mod, and I've got this newer one to my collection, which has quickly become a top contender, is the Arcturus AK12.
Oh,
and then I have the old reliable, my Cyma underfolder. And you'll notice that a lot of these guns have been on the channel before years ago, and they're still going.
Tried and true.
I have not found a strong need to replace them. I really don't buy guns the way I used to. The newest one in this rotation is the Arcturus AK12, which I didn't buy. Arcturus sent this to us for review. There's a video on it on Lane's channel, the BB Warrior, and there's a reason this got put into my rotation. These things rip. Find what your needs are and fill those needs. Don't just impulse buy things because you think that they're cool, unless they're really, really cool.
I mean, that does look really awesome. I mean, that front handrail, like the hand grip, what would you call it? The wood at the front is, I mean, that's pretty different looking and pretty cool.
And you know you won't regret it 4 or 5
Problem is
years
the shape
later.
of the drum mag.
But when we talk about, you know, what are your needs? What are those things that you actually need a gun to do? That's where it gets a little bit tricky and you are going to have to do some experimentation. For example, these guns are for the most part mil-spec style replicas because I attend a lot of Milsim games. So obviously I'm very biased to like, you know, little more clone-inspired builds like the Elva, or totally clone-correct builds like my Keg M4 Avalon SOP mod.
Too.
And I have built these guns essentially to mimic mil-spec function because that's the style of game that I like to go to. And then when I have a little bit more creative freedom, what I still do is I still kind of imitate that form and function. And you'll notice that my Keg M4 and my AK12, while this is not really a clone correct AK12, it still has most of the same features.
Yeah,
I've
it's
got
the same
the
with me.
sling mounts, so I can put a sling on it when I actually use
Optic,
it. I've
torch,
got a threaded barrel with a
suppressor.
tracer here. This is tracer compatible with QD. I've got a light, and I swap the D-ball I've got onto the gun that I'm using, and I've got a optic on a riser. And that setup, those
Exactly
basic
the same for me.
notes, is just the setup that I find always works for me. You know, vertical foregrips and different pistol grips and different stocks and all that minutia that people really like to break down kind of doesn't matter. If you're talking about pure practicality, figure out what your needs are and find the ways to meet those needs on whatever replica you're using, and then just practice to get good at the ins and outs of that particular replica. You know, there's a different manual of arms on an M4 and an AK, but ultimately, neither of them are that difficult with practice. But with light machine guns and other specialty roles like grenade launchers or anything like that, these are maintenance intensive. Airsoft guns in general are
also
maintenance
gas blowbacks,
intensive.
super
so
maintenance
learn how to
intensive.
maintain your gear and be able to do the work to keep these things running. And that makes it super rewarding when you've got this really cool replica that has these cool rules at certain games, and you can just keep it working exactly how you want. So anytime that you're going to be getting into any type of specialty weapons, you know what your needs are, know what specialty role you're trying to fulfill, set it up so it can fulfill that role, and then make sure that you know how to keep that thing working, because if you don't know how to keep it working,
That's where,
you're going to have a really...
Like, I have to stay away from AEGs. I just don't have that knowledge, which he has and quite a few other, like, YouTubers have. If, like, my AEG stopped working, I wouldn't have a clue what to do. Like, I kind of know what the inside of a gearbox looks like. I know what a MOSFET looks like. I know that you need to plug in a LiPo in the right way, that you need to charge it, that it kind of can go wrong in certain ways. But if some wiring went anything like that, like, I'm just lost. With gas blowbacks, it's a lot more like practical. Like, I can look at it and be like, right, well, that looks like it's wearing too hard, or that spring's gone, or this magazine's obviously not holding gas. It's a lot easier. It's a lot more maintenance, I think, from what I kind of hear from people who work on the two, but it's just a lot more simple to diagnose.
Cool looking paperweight. All right, and now continuing the trend of cool things, let's talk about some gear. And I gotta tell you what,
old school gear.
Over the last 2 years, these two chest rigs have been by far my most used items. This is the Plat Attack Peacekeeper Mark whatever, I forgot, but it's the modernized Tricom with an H harness and just a macro chest rig layout. And this is a USGI tap that I have upgraded.
See, I like kind of very thin mag pouches, very specific to the actual magazines I'm going to run. He seems to like your GP, your general purpose, like mag pouches, which take a lot of mags.
Harness. And this was a very simple mod. You just swap the buckles out, and now all of a sudden you're able to mount a way better harness than what the tap comes with. And you have, once again, a macro
I really want to
chest
try
rig.
that cry harness.
Essentially, these two chest rigs cover most of my needs. I've also got a Tasmanian Tiger chest rig that I use when I'm on Rust 4 at Milsim West. But if I'm at a general, like, open play game or something with more relaxed uniform rules, or something where I'm not going for like the most realistic clone correct kit, I'm using this. This carries everything I need. It is 100% one of the most comfortable rigs I've ever used. And it's a great piece of gear, and it's quality, and it is held up to that use.
Where you need to buy real when it comes
great.
to that if you want something that's going to last.
When I want to use something that's
replica stuff
NATO
is
correct
cheaper,
for Milsim
can
West,
look good, but
I use the tap. And if I'm using a plate carrier, I can put the tap on top of the plate carrier. If I'm using a plate carrier and I don't want to put the tap on it, I have an SPCS that, again, I've had forever. With a good harness, you can take these Milcert pieces of gear and you can upgrade them, and you can make them into something that's actually comfortable to wear. On my SPCS, I have an Arbor Arms cummerbund kit. So you can save some money. This is a $250 chest rig from Plat Attack, and it's really cool, and I really like it. You can get a tap, if you're lucky, for 40 or 50 bucks. Then you can get whatever harness you want. You could get an H harness from Amazon, and that'll probably still be better than what the tap comes with. And you'll be able to upgrade this tap into a fully functional large form chest rig for basically no money. You could have a chest rig that carries everything you need for 12 hours for under $100 with a tap, with some pouches, and a good harness on it. So Identify what your needs are, and then find smart ways to use quality gear to fill those needs.
You got to play a
buy
lot
once,
to
cry
know what
once,
your needs
everyone
are. Everyone
uses that an excuse to buy Cry Precision and ridiculously expensive, crazy stuff. But realistically speaking, what that should mean is do your research and buy the quality of item that will actually fulfill your needs to the point that you don't need to replace it or tweak it all the time.
Insanely
that is what
expensive.
buy once, cry once means. And when it comes to gear,
Buy once,
for
cry
me,
once.
large form
Cry
chest rigs
precision
are
once.
my buy once, cry once. Right, this might be the newest piece of gear on this table, and I gotta tell you what, I wish I had bought it sooner. If you ever played Resident Evil 4 and you have that inventory that you can slot everything around and it's like super satisfying Tetris?
Never played
This
it.
is the Magpul DACA case, and this is the Resident Evil 4 case made real. I bought the DACA case because I was sick of using soft-sided rifle cases that over the long term would kind of just start
can already
falling
tell I'm
apart.
gonna want
They
one
don't
if
really
he says
protect
this.
what's in them, and they're not great to fly with, and I have been flying to things a little bit more often lately. So when I was flying to the Desert Fox game earlier this year, when I was leading ERT, I thought to myself,
I think that was near me.
I need something that's actually going to transport my guns, that's going to be TSA compliant, that I'm going to be able to fly with, and I don't want to have to cut out a piece of foam, then buy a new one the next time I want to cut out a piece of foam so that I can have everything form fit. So I bought the DACA case, and
It's
I got to tell you
expensive,
what,
though.
having a
couple $100
truly
at least.
quality, hard case that's reconfigurable to what I need has been a game changer. I can just move these blocks and make a combination of guns fit in here, and that has been really super
That is
handy.
pretty cool.
Have a quality piece of gear that you can reconfigure and use that for as much as possible. And this case already has plenty of wear on it because this has been my one solution for transporting airsoft and real guns anywhere I'm going for any reason, because why wouldn't it?
I'm gonna look at how much
This
those are
next
after
one
this.
is to do with something more important than what we have talked about yet, and that is your eye protection. When you're playing airsoft,
I don't like the look of that
BBs
mask
are
he's
flying
got there.
around at relatively low velocity compared to firearm bullets, but high enough velocity that when they hit your eyeballs, they're going to do permanent and irreparable damage. So you need to protect your eyeballs. Obviously,
That's very well put.
eye protection is one of those things that you do not want to cheap out on. And a couple of years ago, I finally made the decision to get into the world of prescription eye protection. You may notice that I wear glasses every day in my normal life. Well, I didn't wear glasses for airsoft for a long time because contacts, my eyes just, there's a weird thing, I don't know what it is, but when I try to put contacts in, my eyes don't
I've
agree
never
with
had
them,
to do
and
that,
it weirds
and I
me
can't
out, and
imagine.
I can't touch them, and it's gross. So I just went without for a long time because my vision was good enough that I could just suffer through it. But a couple years ago, I made the decision to get into actually buying prescription eye protection, and initially I had the ESS crossbows with
They're
the
cheap
prescription
and apparently
inserts,
good.
and those were good, but not great in my opinion. When you have two sets of lenses
lots of,
stacked on
plugs
top
for
of each
that.
other, that's two sets of lenses that can fog. And when I actually used the headband on my crossbows to keep them tight to my face, the prescription inserts would rub against my eyes sometimes. And when I applied an alcohol-based anti-fog solution to those prescription lens inserts,
your eye.
and they were rubbing directly against my eyes, you can guess how that felt. So
Really
after
nice.
I
Felt really,
finally
really
got
nice.
to a point where I was a little bit
It's like a
sick of those
spa
as a
massage.
solution, and then I accidentally ran over the inserts with my truck while I
How
was
do you do
hosting
that?
one of our games. That was fun. I decided to go for an all-in-one solution, and I went to rxsafety.com, and I actually bought these Wiley X all-in-one
Wow.
prescription eye protection. And these are the grid model. And what's cool about these is
I
that
just
if I go
fog
to an
and
event
sweat on
where
everything,
I need
so-
full steel eye protection, these come with a gasket. These are meant to be glasses for motorcycle use and all kinds of stuff like that. I've actually worn these skiing because the gasket keeps the wind out of my eyes. But when I don't need gaskets, if I'm at Milsim West, Gun Gamers Productions, Zulu 24, and if you have like a good cohesive wraparound seal with your eye protection, they don't make you wear a gasket, these are perfect because these fit well to my face, they contour well, there are no obscene gaps where BBs can get in, and they are an all-in-one prescription eye protection solution. So these have been like a superpower for me. Now actually being able to see what I'm doing,
quite a few friends who play who
without
have
the
the same
cost of
issues.
having alcohol-based anti-fog rubbing directly on my eyeball, this has been a huge game changer. So that has been a huge improvement in my quality of life. So if you're suffering with bad eye protection, whether you need prescription or not, upgrade your eye protection.
I
If
go
your eye
with
protection
Oakley M
fogs,
frames
try a good
with an
anti-fog.
X-Fog unit.
I swear by these FogTech DX wipes. You can find these on Amazon. I'll include a link down below. But those FogTech DX wipes are the only thing I will use personally. I know that there's Fog Stop that Lane really swears by. I haven't messed with it because I'm superstitious. When I find something that works, I stick to it. Kind of the theme of this video. But that has been a
Until you
huge
buy
game
another
changer, is
replica.
actually having, for me, quality eye protection. And then when we talk about indoor, this may be a hot take, if I'm going to a field that requires full face protection,
Dye mask.
I'm wearing a dye mask. And this isn't prescription, you know, I do deal without my prescription indoor because the distances are so much less and it doesn't really matter.
So he's
I can see
short-sighted.
just fine 30 feet away from me. It's, you know, when I'm scanning for people in the woods that I need to go high def with my glasses. But this dye mask has been my preferred solution for full face protection for like 8 or 9 years now, something like that. And all I've had to do is replace the lens one time and they're still available and you can still buy them.
They've got such a Speed Soft name to them.
Solution. The Speed Softers are onto something,
Yeah.
guys. These are really, really good. And what I
just
especially
sweat
like
down
about
them.
this is that because of the way the paintball mask is cut, and especially on my face, I actually can get a chin weld on my stock. So when I'm using something like my MCX,
Let's see.
with this dye mask, I can still get a chin weld, and I've got this optic on a Unity riser, and I can actually still see through the optic, shoulder the gun, and aim as normal. So the dye mask for me is my most unobtrusive and easy all-in-one full face protection solution. Whatever,
I just think
call
they
me
look
whatever you
weird, though.
want for using a dye mask,
Yeah.
but they're great. I love them. So if you're an indoor player and you want to know what the best indoor face protection.
So the issues that I have, like I'll wear an Oakley M frame, like glasses with a X-Fog unit attached to it, so it's blowing air into it, which is great. I then also will wear some lower face protection, which again, it protects my face, but there are gaps, not necessarily around the eyeball because of the X-Fog unit, but actually like of my cheeks here and of like bridge of my nose slightly. And you obviously don't have it with that. Like with that, your kind of face is protected. With what I do for a job, I could probably pass it off, but when I go, and I have done it a couple of times, not for a while now, but I go to a showing, I show houses, and there's like a big red weld, like kind of mark or a cut like there. It is kind of annoying. So I've always thought, you know, dye masks may be a good idea. Maybe I should go down that route or something similar, full face protection. My problem is I fog a lot. And it's like always people are like, oh, you use anti-fog, it's fine. For me, it's actually more the sweat running down the lens. So the X-Fog blows so much air that it actually just stops the like sweat from running down the lens and just dries it instantly. If I don't have that, I literally will not just have like the fog, like kind of, you know, like a cloud kind of image on the lens. It's more actually just like wet. Like the entire the thing gets wet, and I don't know why it is, and I don't think that many people have it. I just obviously sweat a lot. When I go for a run, like in the morning, I come back and I'm dripping like pretty bad, and it's, you know, a 20-minute run or less, and I'm dripping pretty hard. So for me, that's my issue. So if someone had a mask like that, which I know you can attach an X-Fog to it, but yeah, I mean, it's something I've stayed away from. The other thing I have an issue with is like if I wear a helmet, and that can kind of get in the way there, you know, like if it's bumping on the helmet or whatever it is, you know, your cheek weld, it just feels like my whole head is just too contained. That's me.
The solution is, I gotta tell you, I swear by the dye mask I have for a long time. Continuing the theme of gear that I've had for a really long time, this is still my first Chrono that I bought
Ace Tech
10, 12 years ago. And it still reads accurately. It is just an X-Cortec X3200. And owning a Chrono is essential if you want to play Airsoft seriously. If you do any work on your guns, if you do any kind of preparation for games,
You need to know what you're firing at.
chrono your gun. You know, different field chronos may read differently when you get there, so maybe there will be a margin of error. But if your gun handily clears the chrono limit of the event you're going to on your own chrono, I'm not talking, 0.05 joules. Like, there might be a margin of error of like 0.1 joules between different chronos, right? But if your gun handily passes the chrono limit of your chosen event by 0.1 joules or more when you're at home and the hop-up is off, odds are good that your gun is going to clear the limit of whatever event you're going to when you get there. So own a chrono. It's like having a backup gun because you'll know if your gun is messed up, you'll know if your gun shoots hot, and you'll know it before you make the drive to go to your preferred event. So if you don't own a chrono yet, what are you doing? This is, if I really had to pick my most used piece of gear on this table, it's this.
Wow,
and then if you ever want to get into hosting events, you already have a chrono to use.
Although you probably want a professional big one.
Where I talk to you about not upgrading for the sake of upgrading. And you might think I'm talking about guns.
I can kind of already agree with this. Amount of guns I've messed up.
But my most used helmet setup continues to be this ACH. And I can take the scrim off and just paint this helmet whatever color it needs to be for whatever game I'm using at, or I can leave the scrim on and use it for keg-compliant headgear at NATO games, or I can just use it for green compliant because it's covered in green scrim. So this helmet can work in basically any situation. I generally don't wear a helmet unless I'm planning on wearing night vision or if it's like an urban AO where I really want some head protection. But if I'm gonna wear a helmet, I have no reason to own multiple helmets at this point. I used to have a Team Wendy and I sold it because I don't need multiple helmets for what I do. I have this ACH and it fits me well. I've got good pads in it. I've got a good H harness in it, and I have no reason to upgrade. Are other modern helmets nicer and lighter and maybe cooler looking? Sure, but this continues to do everything I need it to do when I need it to do it, so this is what I stick with. And then talk about not upgrading for the sake of upgrading. This is the same PVS 14 that I have had since 2018, and it has a warranty expiration date of March 2006. This is a super, super old 14 that I bought secondhand in 2018.
That's why they're expensive.
I don't know what the specs are.
If you look after it, they last.
It's green Foz, but it's Gen 3, and it has yet to die. Are newer night vision units better? Yes. Do I have a lot of time and a lot of practice using this one competently? Yes. Does it not throw out a giant IR beacon like digital night vision or Gen 2 with an illuminator? Yes. So this ticks every box I need it to at the price that I could afford when I bought it, and I have no good reason to tie up more money into night vision than this right now. I will use a thermal optic when I can at MSW, but I'm lucky enough that I have a friend group where I can borrow one of those half the time. And when I want to buy one, I will, but I will buy one that is within my means, and I will hang on to it until it is either so outmoded that it has to be upgraded, or more likely,
I'm different from this guy where I just
it will never
buy an
be
upgrade and waste money.
And that's
he's got a much better
big
motto
thing,
on this.
Is if you have something that ticks all the boxes you need, don't feel compelled to upgrade just because it doesn't have the shiniest, newest specs. If you're confident with it, if you have practice using it, and if it doesn't have some horrific downside like digital night vision needing an IR beacon that basically is like using white light, then just keep that thing running. And worst case scenario, if you do decide to upgrade, you can have it as a spare, or you can probably sell it for pretty close to what you paid. But don't upgrade for the sake of upgrading and waste a ton of money on something that maybe you only use a few times a year. And for me, that's what night vision is. So I bought this when I bought it.
I don't use mine nearly as much as I thought I would.
And it just continues to work. That said, don't waste good money on bad gear and then run bad gear with massive disadvantages. You have to know what the advantages and disadvantages of your equipment are and make an intelligent choice of if it is worth upgrading. For me, this is still a Gen 3 unit, so it's not worth upgrading just yet. When there's a point where it's so outmoded or the the sensor is so dimmed that it is no longer usable, that is when it will be worth upgrading. But you have to be able to make those calls, and you have to know when it's a good idea to upgrade and when you can let something ride. In a similar vein to what I just said of don't waste good money on bad gear, don't waste good money on bad comms. This is an Ilance HD.
I have one of those.
And as far as I'm concerned, if you are still buying Baofangs in the year 2025, you are behind. Now, maybe that's extreme, but this really is everything the Baofeng wishes it was. I killed a series of Baofangs between 2016 and 2021 until I finally decided to bite the bullet and get an Ilance.
But they're only like
HD1.
$100 as opposed to being 40.
And I have owned this since 2022, and it has yet to die, and it is actually a good radio that reaches where I need it to reach, receives what I need it to receive, and does not die in the weather. This is actually more waterproof than the Baofeng series, which for me is a huge selling point. I have just had to replace the speaker mic one time, which as far as I'm concerned is better than having had to buy 2 or 3 new Baofangs in that time, which is realistically the pace I would have been on.
Yeah.
I do have to
I haven't
replace
broken a Baofeng either, so.
But again, speaker mic and an antenna replacement versus replacing the whole radio, Baofangs are pretty cheap, but I like having the thing work in the field as I need it to. I mean, this antenna actually still works, which is pretty funny. But
what's he done? Painted it?
Encourage you, if you are looking at buying comms gear for Airsoft, yes, Baofangs are a good entry-level option if you're just dipping your toes in and you don't have a lot of money to spend. But if your Baofeng breaks, and you think that maybe you want to buy another Baofeng because you're sticking with this hobby for a long time, get the Ilance. It's worth it.
I think I got it at a discount for like just over 100, 120.
A category
maybe.
Of my most used gear that may surprise some of you, but I think is worth talking about.
It's much more complex setting the settings.
Odds and ends. There are all the little things that you think about bringing to a game or that you think about needing at some point or another, and half the time, half the people on the field don't have them. And if you're the guy who has them, you're everybody's friend. Because when somebody cuts their hand and needs a boo-boo kit, you have the boo-boo kit. This will just fit in a cargo pocket. This will fit in part of your big chest rig or split harness or whatever you're using.
Pouches.
Bring a first aid kit. Bring tape, either duct tape or electrical tape, so that you can tape wires together, so that you can tape switches to what you need, so that you can do whatever you need to do with tape. And there will be a lot of things you need to do with tape. They will come up. Bring tape. If you're going to a long form or Milsim event, bring some chem lights. Either bring these mini chem lights. I'll use these to mark rucks when we're leaving rucks somewhere, and I can put, say we're squad 3, I can leave 3 chem lights arranged on my ruck, and I'm the squad leader, so everyone puts their rucks around me, and then we've got these 3 mini chem lights on my ruck, and we can all find each other's rucks. Or let's say you're clearing buildings and you want to know what rooms you've cleared. Drop a chem light. Or if you're coordinating with groups of people at night and you're doing an assault, bring these on a little piece of string, break them, and then use a buzzsaw to signal your supporting element when they need to shift their fire. And all those little things like that do just enable like little tactics that make your life easier, just little tricks. Bring extra batteries, whether this is AEG batteries, whether this is batteries for your night vision, batteries for your lights, batteries for your optics. Just bring a bag of extra batteries for a little of everything. And even if you don't need them, someone's gonna need them. Bring a notepad and a pen because you're gonna have to write stuff down. Maybe you wanna write down the name of everybody who's in your squad so that you don't forget and look like a jackass. Maybe you wanna write down what the pace plan is so that you know what the backup frequency is, as long as you're not at a game that allows electronic warfare. If they allow electronic warfare, use the notepad in your phone and then password lock your phone so that people can't search you.
Yeah, that's right.
Have
You search
a waterproof
them, get
case
their
for your phone so that if it rains, your phone doesn't die. Have an extra USB charger for your phone and for your electronic devices so that if you're using your phone as a GPS.
For me, I think he's absolutely right. But for me, it's kind of like a where do I stop? Like I'll continue to put more and more and more and more and more stuff on. And then I'm like, okay, hold on, wait a second. I don't need 3 of these or like 4 of those. Like I have that issue of like too you know, like, oh, you know, if you have it, you might need it. Like, I'll kind of take that too far. So I don't know. He's obviously like, he's played so much that he knows what he will need and like how to portion that out. I'm definitely not in the same league as this guy.
It doesn't die. Or if people are trying to reach you via the phone, it doesn't die. These are not only my most used pieces of gear in Airsoft, these are my most used pieces of gear in real life. A good wristwatch. You can spend a lot of money on a really cool looking watch if you want, or you can spend a little money on a Casio. Casios will tell time, they will tell you what day it is, and they will tell you that in the dark when you press the little button and make them glow. So get a good wristwatch so that you can track your bleed out time, so that you can track when you're supposed to be doing certain movements, so that you can coordinate with groups of people. Like, hey, we'll meet up at this.
Yeah, I'm so bad with that. I'll just grab my phone.
So that you won't be late when you're trying to meet up for the drive to the game. All kinds of things like that. And then a good multi-tool. If you cannot think of 10 uses off the top of your head for a multi-tool at an Airsoft game, you are not thinking hard enough. If you are the guy with a multi-tool, once again, you are everybody's friend. And I carry
What's his recommendation?
A pocket knife or a multi-tool every single day, and I wear a watch every single day. So these aren't just things that you'll buy for Airsoft, these are things that you'll use for life. That was a lot of words and a lot of talking, and a lot of it was very rambly. What is my cohesive point with this video? What would I say is the thesis? My thesis is, when you have been in this game for a long time, you're going to identify patterns of things that work for you, and you're going to identify clear purposes for what you need. And when you're starting out in this game, it can be a lot of experimentation and a lot of just wanting to buy stuff because you want to buy stuff and you think it looks cool. I would encourage you, as you're starting out, yes, experimentation is part of the process. You will learn what you need through experimentation, but experiment intelligently. Look at what experienced people are using. Look at what actually has a reputation for fulfilling the need that you needed to fulfill, and then buy things carefully and learn to use those things well and how to maintain them so that you can have those things for a long time and they will carry you through the hobby for a long time, and you won't wind up wasting a bunch of money on disposable stuff that you throw out and replace and buy new things over and over and over again. Learn how to build a system that works for you, and then just keep on building upon that system if you need to, or if you don't need to build upon that system, refine it, or just use it as it is. I didn't go over my sustainment gear at all in this video because that's very much one of those systems I have that works for me, and I've gone over it several times. So if you want to watch another video from Gun Gamers, I will put a card here that'll bring you to one of my packing videos where I go over my sustainment kit, which is in my Hill People Gear backpack, which is another one of my pieces of gear that I've had forever. If you want to learn more about Gun Gamers and what we do here, and Gun Gamers Productions, which is the event promotion company that I run, you can go ahead and check out the website down below, gungamersproductions.com. And if you liked this video and you want to see more like it, go ahead and hit that like button because you liked it and the algorithm likes that. Leave a comment if you have any questions or your own opinions, even ones that contradict my own.
Well, that's what I'm doing right now.
Crazy enough, sometimes people have different opinions, and that's okay. And if you really liked this video and you really want to make sure you don't miss the next one and you stay up to date on all things Gun Gamers, hit that subscribe button. Once again, I have been Eric. This has been the Gun Gamers YouTube channel, and I hope you found this at least somewhat entertaining and informative, and maybe I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
Okay, guys, that was awesome. I can't really recommend this guy's channel enough, Eric from Gun Gamers. If we go here, look, you can see they've put out tons of cool content. They've got a lot of knowledge from him just over the years where I'll I don't know, if, I think I am subscribed, so his stuff will come up on my feed, but it's more in-depth knowledge. There's so much experience there that actually his okay, well, I like this Airsoft replica, but actually I don't like how it works in this way. So definitely go and check the channel out. Go and subscribe to Gun Gamers, and I think that video is really, really cool. I've done a couple of videos along that line, but not actually more of what is my use, and how I kind of use what the kit that I use most. used. I've done more like, okay, this is what I'm currently using. But I think that was just really, really cool to watch. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here. I will see you very soon on the next video. And if there's anyone else I should check out, hit the notifications. If there's anyone else I should check out, then drop them in the comments below. Thanks, guys. Bye.